So tonight I want to show you, like I said, how to use the rendering workspace. We have not touched on this at all, and that's okay. All of this is every time I've asked you to put an appearance on your model, anything like that, so it looks like the thing. Unfortunately, that does not translate to our printers because unless you select a specific material, filament, whatever, it's not going to resemble what is on your model, what it looks like color-wise or anything at all. But what one of the sections is for is actually creating fully detailed renderings. What a rendering is a fully realized digital image. So I've created a model on whatever, Photoshop, uh, CAD, obviously, anything like that. And I can make it look like things, but there's usually another level to showing just how detailed the thing is. So right now, grabbing one of my models, my little super cool surfing dinosaur, my stegosaurus that's just thagamizing. Um, it looks the part. It looks like it's sewn together, all that kind of thing, because of the cloth material. But one, it's showing all of like the seams of like the actual modeling surfaces, the edges, all of that. Well, how do I even do anything with the rendering workspace? Up in the upper left-hand corner where it says design, where we've been working for the entirety of the semester, click there, go down to render. And as you can see, it says generates realistic renderings of the design. And that's exactly what it do. So once you enter this space, everything suddenly changes and gets a lot more clear of what you're doing. So now the reflective surfaces are reflective, cloth looks more like cloth, all that kind of thing. And you have control over this stuff. Things like, what if I don't quite like how the cloth looks? It looks okay, but not quite. You have still the appearance tool. Press A or bring up the little color wheel tool. This brings up the appearance toolbox. And just like you've already had, you can alter the appearances by going on the one that you want to alter. Let's say, all right, the one that's already here. So in the under the tab, in this design, right click on that and go to edit. From there, I can adjust things like the scale. So I can make this look real rough. Let me move my image over so you can see what I'm really doing here. So the scale is, I'm just changing the picture that these textures or images are based off of. Go too small and it's just way too fine and it's just super smooth. But bring it back up, anything like that, you can see how I can change the scale of the image quite a lot. You also have rotation. You can alter that. This is especially helpful if you are using like wood textures on anything. Let me drag the scale slider back up a little bit. There we go. And you can see how the rotation works if it'll follow along with me. Just rotates it around, literally. But right in the middle is usually pretty well good. You play around with these. These are just different things that you can adjust within this form or within this area. Same thing goes for like, all right, I want to adjust like what the platinum surface there is. It's way too shiny, or you know what? I wish it was kind of blue. Dee-ba-da-bye. Play around with the color fader, and you can create different shades, different colors. So you can augment the appearances that are already there. Some have some really impressive appearances. Now, it's not going to translate to a printer, but some have some really intense ones. Things like, let's scroll down to ones that I found like metal, and I think it is uh stainless. You can see a lot of these have like things like brushed steel or steel mesh, things like that. Let's try using that one on here. Drag and drop. Yep, remove, apply. That now changes my surfboard to essentially like a cheese grater. But some of these appearances have really radically different appearances. Whatever. Go to edit. And again, I can play with the scale of the texturing up and down. Rotation augments exactly that. So if I wanted this to look like an actual like steel grate or whatever, roughness just adjusts how rough it actually looks. A lot of times that's just kind of like the contrast slider. But anyway, so you can really play stuff up. And some of these, it's actually like perforated steel, so it'll show through. So that's all well and good, but what am I actually talking about when it comes to rendering? Right now, general workspace, general image. Moving to the right, a lot of these are just like scene setups, decals, things like that. Scenes are actually the environment, so you can actually change things like the background, solid color. What if it looks better as red? You can change these around, these background colors, things like that. Or the other tab is you can change environments. So something like, I don't know, my dinosaur is currently surfboarding through, get on there. What it's not going to show immediately is I just applied a background that is an actual scene. There's other ones I can play with, decals, texture controls, moving things around. But the main ones I really want to show you here are in the in-canvas render. The first is a test render. This little sphere with a little green play symbol, that is a test render. Doesn't spend the entire effort to render the image, but when I click that, it's going to start compiling the image in the full actual textures, images, everything. But see how it goes all grainy and then it starts to kind of smooth out? That's so that way I can still alter this. So say like, oh, you know what? Actually, I think it'll look better if I zoom way in. It's going to get grainy again, but now it's going to collate and start building. You can see how there's actually the things like the shadow underneath, all of that. The longer you let it go, the finer it'll get. When you're ready to actually fully render this, go back up, hit stop. These are just different like settings, obviously save. The teapot is essentially the CAD software universal symbol for full render. Why? I don't know. It just is. So hit the teapot. Hey. This gives you settings that allow you to figure out what do you want to do. One of the things, don't use cloud render. Use local render, because what that is, cloud render, is it takes your image, uploads it, lets the Autodesk servers render it, and then you got to download it again. Great if you have a super awesome connection. These are not. And also if you have a lot to render. We don't. So just use the local render. It will more quickly render for you. You have a couple of settings here. You have standard, you have final. We'll use final for now. I'm going to detail the other ones in a moment. Hit render. So it will say local starting to render. And like it says, once it's complete, image thumbnail will appear down here. And that's exactly what it's doing. There should be a little timer that's telling me how long it's taking. But at the moment, it is not for whatever reason. Did I not hit it? I'm going to pause for a moment, let it render. All right, no idea why it wasn't before, but now you can see in the bottom corner here, or in the bottom bar, it is showing that it's currently rendering. So yeah, it probably is. What's happening is it kind of got a little jammed up. And then like when you hit print a bunch of times on the printer and it finally connects, then it spits out 50 versions of the same page. So as you can see, it's got this little slider going along, this little timer, and it's almost done. Or it says remaining time, a few seconds, and done 2 minutes ago. We'll see. I think the problem is again, because I hit too many times. But there we are. Now it's got a fully rendered image there. Now the problem is, as you can see, kind of a wide view and all of that. Not really what we're going for because one, yeah, I want it zoomed in a bit so you can actually see what I'm doing, but it's kind of way too big width-wise. So what we're going to do in the rendering, and this will be available both in the comments of this video and on comments, when you hit render, we're going to use some specific settings. We're going to go to print, the middle one, 5x7, like you got some 5x7 glossies, local render, and you can either choose standard or final render. It's up to you. Hit render this time, and hopefully it'll actually go through. It's syncretizing. There we go. New version. A couple of seconds ago. Usually with these settings, it goes a little bit more quickly. So again, let me pause here. Okay, there we go. Finished rendering. different settings, so it's just a different image. You can see how it's cropped differently, all of that. Those are the settings we're going to use. It's a much more standard image. Plus, it's a great way to decide if you want, or it's a great image set if you want to submit images or anything like that. It's totally an option. So what do you have the options to do? Well, you obviously can download this image now, and this is what you would submit. Make sure that you're submitting as something like an actual image file. PNGs are okay. But you might want to check and make sure that you're setting in your output options are in JPEG options. Don't know why that has not popped up. But anyhow, there we go. Capture image. You can do all that kind of stuff. Anyhow, you have the options to play around. We have our environments to play with, all that sort. Scene settings. One of the things is doing, like, you have the environment option here. It's just a blank red background, but you saw me drag and drop this snowy field in. So if I use the tab here to go from solid color to environment, looks kind of wild. But when I go to render now, and let's just turn this a little bit so it's all differenty. Now what we're in is a literal snowy field. Why you'd be surfboarding in a snowy field, I don't know, but it's already a bit ridiculous anyway, so who cares? But when we go to render, use the same settings, go ahead and render again. Pause, let it do its thing. And there we go. So now when I go to my rendered image, because it's cropped at a 5:7 ratio, now I have my little plush dinosaur on its really uncomfortable mesh snowboard, dang it, surfboard in the snow. Good gravy. But playing around with these, obviously, one thing would be I don't quite like the appearance there. All right, so go back in, tweak the appearances, go back to like the shiny metal one. Great. Play around with the backgrounds. I will tell you, for accessories, things like that, one of the things that really helps now, right now, because my accessory is a surfboard, it has a thing for my plush toy to sit on. That works really well. But if, say, let me open a different file real quick. Let's say we'll go rubber ducky. If it's just sitting here, when we switch to the render environment, it'll just be floating in void space. So the best thing to do is give it a platform, put it on something. And that can simply be, go back to design. Let's just literally put, like, I don't know, in this case, a disk. And I'm only saying a disk just because I can make it right in the center. I don't know, 500. And I'm just making it like 1 millimeter thick. Does not matter. It is a new body, super duper. I'm going to move that just down below the duck. Dang it, it keeps defaulting to faces. And so I'm just going to move that down a little bit so it sits on there. Great, okay, super duper. And the whole reason for that is now I have something to set it on. So when I go to the render workspace, granted it's on a giant floating disk, but if I bring up the appearance tool and, I don't know, put like, sure, it's sitting on whatever. Let's go with something not reflective. Other materials, plastic site work, wood, sure, why not? Does not matter. Rich mahogany. Throw that on there. Great. Now it's sitting on a tabletop. If your image looks kind of funky, as in like the appearance doesn't quite fit right, bring the appearance back up. Let's right click, edit that, change the scale a little bit of the wood so it looks better, more appropriate. You can rotate any of that kind of thing. Of course, in this case, it looks like I'm just spinning the table. But there you go. Now when I go to, and I'll just do a quick render. Now my duck is sitting on a wooden tabletop, so it just gives it a more complete scene. So an easy thing to do with your models, with your renders, is give it a place for your model to sit. So I used a disc, you could use a square. It does not matter. The thickness is irrelevant. It's just a place to put an appearance so your model can sit on something. because when you go to finally render this, you will have a much higher quality image. So the requirements for your images are you have to create and submit 3 images. One is a 3/4 view, essentially what I'm looking at right here. Whatever that translates to, let me stop the quick render. Whatever 3/4 ends up, 3/4 is basically perspective view. Second one needs to be a detail. So I really want to get a great detail of that horrifying dead eyeball. Great. That's one of the ones. The other one, taster's choice. You want to make it more of another detail shot. Maybe you got another spot, or the fact that it has no eye on that side. Maybe you want to have a full zoom out. Maybe you want to put other things in there. Maybe because you're also having you want to detail the accessory it has. So at that point, maybe because I have an adorable little handkerchief, we want to put some sort of a cloth onto that. Sure, like weathered, leathered. Let's adjust the scale of that so it actually looks like something whatsoever. Any of that sort, you get the idea. Zoom in, anything else. So you have 3 images. One is a 3/4 view. One is a detail shot. The other, whatever you would like. But 3 total. You're going to use the teapot render symbol, create your renderings. We're going to use the settings. We're going to use the print settings. Use the 5x7, just like you would print up a picture for grandma. Go to local render so you don't have to upload it and download it again. And you can use either standard or final and then hit render. Do those, download it, submit it, you're all set. So playing around with the render workspace, it really makes all those appearances and colors come alive, especially if you have stuff like this, a metal flake duck, because heck yeah, metal flake. All right, thank you.